Today we are going to delve into top 5 CIA coups that destroyed Africa's future. For years, the West, through the CIA, has worked behind the scenes to destabilize Africa, remove visionary leaders, and block true independence. This video reveals the hidden strategies used to keep Africa divided and dependent. It's time to uncover the truth behind Africa's delayed progress and who's really pulling the strings. CIA-inspired coups in Africa are a significant and controversial aspect of post-colonial African history. These coups were often part of Cold War geopolitics, where the US and Soviet Union competed for influence in newly independent nations. The CIA, as the US Foreign Intelligence Agency, played roles, both direct and indirect, in supporting or facilitating regime changes across Africa to protect Western interests, often at the expense of African self-determination. Why the CIA got involved in Africa. 1. Cold War rivalry. They sought to prevent African countries from aligning with the Soviet Union or adopting socialist policies. 2. Economic interests. Africa is rich in resources like oil, uranium, and rare minerals. Western corporations wanted leaders who would allow access to these. 3. Strategic military positioning. Certain regions in Africa held geographic importance for military and surveillance operations. And how did the West manage to delay the progress of Africa all these years? They didn't wear uniforms. They didn't invade with tanks. They used briefcases, lies, and promises of aid. One by one, Africa's dreamers fell, not to bullets in broad daylight, but to silent betrayals in the dark. This is the untold story of how the CIA helped topple Africa's greatest leaders, and why the continent still bears the scars today. The 1950s and 60s were a time of triumph. From Ghana to Congo, from Algeria to Angola, African nations were breaking the chains of colonialism. Flags were raised, leaders were elected, and hope was alive. But freedom came with a price, and someone else was keeping the receipt. The United States, locked in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, viewed Africa not as a land of rising nations, but as a battlefield of influence. And the CIA were the invisible army. Africa's newly independent leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba wanted socialism, neutrality, or African unity. But to the CIA, those dreams sounded too close to communism. And in a world divided by ideology, neutral wasn't an option. If you didn't align with the West, you became a target. The playbook was simple. Destabilize the government, fund opposition groups, spread propaganda, bribe military generals, and when needed, pull the trigger. Quietly. Below are the top 5 CIA coups that destroyed Africa's future. 1. The fall of Patrice Lumumba. In 1960, Patrice Lumumba became Congo's first democratically elected leader. But he had one flaw: he wanted an Africa free from Western control. When he turned to the Soviets for help, the CIA called for his removal. With Belgian support, the CIA funneled money and influence to rivals like Mobutu. Lumumba was captured, tortured, and executed. The US watched, and did nothing to stop it. In fact, they helped orchestrate it. His body was dissolved in acid. 2. The overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, believed in a united Africa. He rejected the Cold War game and wanted true African independence. That made him a target. In 1966, while Nkrumah was on a peace mission to Vietnam, the Ghanaian military staged a coup. Years later, declassified CIA documents confirmed it. The US had backed the operation. They called it Operation Cold Chop. 3. Libya, Gaddafi's rise and Western meddling. In 1969, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi overthrew King Idris with strong nationalist ideals. At first, the West tolerated him. But when Gaddafi nationalized oil and spoke against imperialism, things changed. Throughout the 1980s, the CIA plotted multiple assassination attempts and coup attempts against Gaddafi, even training Libyan exiles. Though he survived, Libya remained under siege for decades. For decades, the West tried to neutralize Gaddafi. Sanctions, airstrikes, assassination plots. But he survived. And by the 2000s, he began reintegrating into global politics. But then came 2011. Amid the Arab Spring, Libya erupted in protest. The West saw its moment. NATO, led by the US, launched Operation Unified Protector. Under the guise of protecting civilians, they bombed Libyan forces, weakened Gaddafi's grip, and supported rebels on the ground. October 20, 2011. After months of chaos, Gaddafi was captured in Sirte. Beaten. Humiliated. Shot in the head. The man who once dreamed of a United States of Africa was murdered in a ditch. The CIA watched again, not from the shadows this time, but under the full light of regime change. 4. Sudan, toppling of Ibrahim Abboud. Sudan gained independence in 1956. General Ibrahim Abboud came to power with military backing, but his resistance to Western oil access and suspicion toward U.S. involvement made him a liability. In 1964, mass protests broke out. But behind the unrest were student groups quietly funded by U.S.-linked NGOs and diplomatic channels. Abboud was forced to resign. 5. Angola, the CIA's proxy war. When Portugal left Angola in 1975, a power vacuum formed. The MPLA, backed by Cuba and the USSR, took control. The CIA responded by funding and arming their rivals, UNITA and FNLA. The result was a civil war that lasted 27 years, fueled by foreign weapons. Millions died. Angola was never the same. These 5 coups weren't random. They were calculated, covert operations to control Africa's future. The leaders who dreamed of unity, socialism, or independence paid the price. But truth has a way of rising. Today, Africans are telling their own stories, remembering the past to protect the future. The hidden hand is being exposed.